All right, football heads, welcome back. Special episode today. We got a very special guest, Tanner Moody, with us back on the show nobody is talking about. I want to talk to you about the Bills specifically. I talked about them a little bit on the flagship show, which came out Tuesday. But I wanted to save some stuff to get into this with you because I feel very strongly that the Bills have absolutely nothing to worry about, and I'm always like, the Bills will be fine. Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about. But I also know I'm on the outside looking in, so I want to talk to you, someone that's around it, in it, inundated with the information on it, someone that's observing it from a different angle than me. And I want to ask you, are the Bills in trouble?
Historically, within the context of the last several years, no. Look, the life of a Bills fan is hell, right? Like, I was talking to our mutual friend, Matt. Gotta cut this.
Hey, fuck off. Because if you go piss like a puppy, stay on the porch.
I was talking to our mutual friend, Matt, about just his fandomness. And he was like, just texting me about like, oh, I'm starting to really feel it. And I'm starting to, let these Jets fans and these other fans get under my skin. And, and I'm just taking all the news personally and all the talking heads and, the losses hurt more. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to the club, bitch. It sucks. It's like, but that's like any fan base, especially when you've had a good recent run of any kind. Like I said after this last loss, like I wish this was happening like from the jump, because before the season started, it's like last season they're all like the Bills are one of the big contenders, and and then we had that slump in the middle, and we fired Ken Dorsey, and everything magically changed, and rainbow shot out of Josh Allen's ass, and Diggs ended up falling off at that part, ironically, and the rest is history, and we didn't go very far. But then coming into this season, probably because of Diggs mostly, but also losing pieces of the defense and having injuries early and shit like that, people are talking about how, we've got no chance. It's nothing's happening with the Bills this season. First 3 games happen, and for a Bills fan, that feels like we're winning the Super Bowl, right? I mean, like that's the naivete just grabs hold, and there's a huge part of this fan base that is still wounded from the mid-90s that refuses to believe that we're going to, like, we could win the Super Bowl and they're going to be like, well, they'll probably take it back. Like they're just so negative and hurt by history. For me, I'm a part of that middle group where it's like, I feel the hope, but then I feel the despair. And so I'd rather have felt that despair and have everyone be right from the beginning right away, because now I'd be numb. By week 5, I'd be numb. It'd be painful, but it'd be like a numb pain. And now it's like I was invigorated by especially game 3. And then these 2 games back to back, I'm an absolute wreck and don't have a whole lot of positive things to say. And like, of course, like if you ask me right after the game, it's like, yeah, of course our season's over. We fucking suck. Like fire McDermott right now and let's just get on with our lives and suck. But no, I mean, I think the season's not over it's week 5. I mean, like being realistic and being an actual adult, it's week 5. There's a lot to improve on. There's a lot of holes that I don't know how we're going to fix because of the pieces that are in place or not in place.
Well,
but
let me interject on that real quick, because that is kind of a degree of a concern, I guess, coming into the season is, you lose Diggs, you lose Gabe Davis, lose Poyer, lose Hyde, bunch of defensive pieces. Milano goes down with the injury. And like what are some of these holes that the Bills have that they're not being talked about? Like the national media tends to find like one or two things to focus on, and they focus on that. Like with this game, I feel like it was the management of the last drive and the Josh Allen injury earlier in the game, but it's sort of like a vague, like, yeah, you know, they've got holes from last year, but like, what are the holes, and like, what are the things that you feel like can be fixed or improved, or like just guys coming in and getting used to playing and getting experience, versus what are the holes that probably aren't going to get fixed this year that might be the thing that fucks you over in the long run?
Sure. We definitely need to get into a whole tirade about the McDermott issue. I think
We will.
You know, there's the obvious ones that everyone's already talking about. I mean, the obvious one that I feel like is truly an issue that will continue to be an issue and has really been a repetitive issue is the loss of Matt Milano. The fact that it hits us so heavily every time it happens is like, it's not even necessarily indicative of Milano himself, but really of the fact that we don't have anyone to do what he's doing. Why is that? Like, why is our run defense so fucking bad? Pretty much year after year. I mean, that's the same old song and dance. I mean, there's flashes of moments where it's like, oh shit. Sorry, dude, my dogs are fucking assholes. If I talk out loud, they're going to take that as an opportunity to make me look like a douche. So, what the fuck is I saying? Great episode. The fact that that has been a repetitive issue, right? That like pretty much feels like every year Milano's out for a period at least, and you know he is honestly such a pivotal piece of that run defense, of the defense in general, and then we lost these other parts, which I think are actually less of an issue. I feel like, you know, the younger guys, the guys that sort of stepped in and stepped up, like obviously for the first 3 games, I mean, like from a passing perspective, our pass defense was incredibly strong, and there was guys that no one ever heard of doing things, like so much so that yeah, I think who was it? Now I'm gonna look like a dickhead. His name is completely passing me by in stage fright. But
I'll cut around it.
let me look this up real quick so I look like a fucking hero. Anyway,
I do want to, while you're looking that up, I do want to, with Matt Milano, like I'm aware of Matt Milano, but even me, I don't feel like I have a full appreciation for how important he is to the team. And I know like the Mike Zimmer era Vikings, like Anthony Barr was the guy where people knew who he was, but he didn't put up a ton of insane stats. And when he would miss games, I don't think people understood how important he was as a piece to just like the defense was built around him. Like how do they use Milano in a way that like he is this sort of indispensable piece that when he's not in there, everything kind of fucks up? Is it just he's an incredible run defender, or is he used in any particular way by McDermott that's like he's like the linchpin of the defense?
Well, so here's where it comes down to like me not being smart enough to answer this in a rewarding way, but I think there's the soft answer, which is sort of indicative of leadership, and like that's not the real answer, but it's like we lost Poyer, we lost High, we lost Trey White, you know, and like these are guys that are holding that part of the team together through their leadership and talent and just ferocity on the field, you know, game after game. That really, like, I am a believer that means something, you know, like with Milano, like he was sort of like that last leadership linchpin in some ways, like from that side of the field, that like he's a guy that from a morale perspective, just from a work perspective and a talent perspective, he's a guy holding it together metaphorically, but like also just this physicality. I mean, you saw what happened against the Ravens and fucking King Henry. Like, there are several. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, because suddenly he just like comes back from the dead just to haunt us specifically, fucking asshole. But like, you know, like the last time I saw him play us, by the way, I was with you, and like my memory of it is like just through directly my imagination, and then I'm just seeing guys flying through the air, like physically, just. But like there's several plays at in the Ravens game that if Milano was in there, like his physicality would have been enough to prevent some of those yards. I'm not saying all of it, any of that, but like he is the guy that is able to break through. He's a guy that's able to sort of get around in a way that some of these, I don't even want to say necessarily smaller guys, but like has just less overall, like their overall Rolodex just isn't as in depth as his in just the way he's able to maneuver the offenses, what they're throwing at him. So again, not a super smart answer, but like he just had this thing that like when a big play was being made, there was a 90% chance that it was him. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of times I yell, "Fucking Milano, I want to marry you," like you're so hot. Like any ridiculous thing that comes out of my mouth is now pretty much only reserved for Josh. But Milano used to be a big part of that, part of my vocabulary when I watch games. But yeah, I mean, that's not a great answer, but he is his. I think ultimately, though, the main point is that like without him, there seems to be a more consistent whole that is able to be made, to which we're being run through, and like the guy that I was going to talk about, someone that no one probably had heard of. I hadn't heard of him. Like I knew he was on the team, but like not like in any real way. Jamarcus Ingram, during the Dolphins game, he had 2 interceptions, and they literally drug tested him afterwards. Immediately, the NFL immediately drug tested him after the game.
They'll do that
but like for me, it's like he literally was such a nobody. They're just like, that's not right. Something's going on here. And so like we had guys stepping up. It was that everybody eats mentality, that next guy up mentality that we've been preaching, and like preaching it for the first 3 games was great because like you can preach it and it means something. Can't really preach it if this continues to be a trend now on the other side of that, right? Because it's like that's lovely and all, but like offensively, for example, the fact that Shakir created such a hole by losing him in the Ravens game, and now, I mean, he was in the Ravens game obviously, but like he played, but like he got hurt. So now we're seeing that like Josh has like no real trusted targets, right? Like it was kind of a mess. It felt empty. And Shakir is a great player, but like for me, he's a wide receiver too. That is like remember like 2022, like Cole Beasley was like the most reliable fucking guy, and like I might be wrong on the year there, but like he was like always sort of there when he was needed, and he was very reliable in like getting that third down or that first down on
every team down. Needs one of those guys where it's like he might not catch a ball the entire game, but you need a third. You got a 3rd and 8. You need to convert because you need to score on this drive, and like you're going to that guy.
And Cole Beasley was that guy for a long time. I think Shakir is a little bit more than that. I mean, Shakir is far more talented than Cole Beasley, but like he just set like an NFL record for like 30 catches in a row or some shit, like completed catches. And the point is that like he is that guy that's reliable, but now we're relying on him so heavily. Like the reason he caught 30 fucking catches in a row is because he was the only one that we were throwing the fucking ball to, and on a consistent basis. And he shouldn't really be that. Like, it's not that he's not talented, and it's not that he's not incredibly vital. He clearly is, because like we had basically nothing to show for our offense in this last game. But at the end of the day, like we need that hole so that he can do his thing and be Mr. Reliable. And so that that play calling we were doing very early on in the season, where it was truly like being spread about, but the linchpin in that was Shakir. And like he was that centerpiece, and we were able to do that, and we're not doing it. We're in the last two games, we have not shown that we can continue that. The play calling has not been the same level of efficiency, I don't think, but obviously you have to adjust for your opponent, but it just hasn't been working with these stronger opponents. So like, we really do need like a number one guy, and it doesn't have to be a Devontae Adams, doesn't have to be a Stephon Diggs, but like we needed Keon Coleman to be that before he was ready, and he's just not ready for that, right? And like,
where do you think he is on his development?
Keon?
Yeah.
I mean, look, you've got these moments of bliss watching him running for, like a 43-yard touchdown, and just like making these plays that everyone anticipated he was going to be making every game. I mean, I think he's had like 9 targets, right? Like something like that. I don't know the exact number, but he's got 2 touchdowns. I don't know, 5 catches, 6. I don't know, like not a whole lot. And I think for me, and it's interesting because I sent you for the show. I sent you that chart of like rookies' percentage of separation win rates, and he was like what, rated number like 4 or 5?
5.
And you're not seeing that translate.
Now I
don't
will say
know what that's about.
I pulled his stats up because number 1 was Adonai Mitchell, who we on this show did a mock draft, and it led to like, hey, we want Adonai Mitchell on this fucking on this team in this program. But he had 6 catches for 70 yards or something like that on the entire season, despite having this enormous win rate with separation. Right. I got Keon Coleman's stats: 9 catches, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns on the season. So you are getting more production than the Colts are out of Adonai Mitchell, but
for sure,
still after 5 games, like
Josh Allen.
Yeah,
that's like a big factor. Like
they got footsteps Flacco now, baby.
Yeah, I think that for me is like a big part. Like for anybody, I think it has to be a big part of it. Is that like it's the same thing with Mahomes and Worthy. I mean, we'll see how he's used now that Rice is out for the season, but like I think that they're rookies. It is what it is, right? Like they're going to grow and get better. I think they're showing that they do have a future in the league. It's just the fact that we need him so deeply right now. Mm-hmm. Like that's a problem, and it's not his problem. It's our problem. It's the same reason like when we started Josh Allen his rookie year, like he didn't start the first couple games. Started Nathan Peterman. But, it's like we had a necessity and we had to. And so his first season, like, is widely regarded as like a very poor outing, right? Like people don't talk about it with high regard. People were talking about
he was dog shit.
Right. Like it's not, I mean, I personally saw the future in him in that season, but like, that's also with a huge dose of alcohol and a huge dose of hope, right? Like, so you're watching it from a different lens as a fan of the team. Ultimately, him going in like that, what we needed out of him, he was never going to be able to produce. And the same thing is happening with Cam Coleman and all these rookies in some ways. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a little bit of an exception, but like even that, like there's still something to be said about like what that team needs of him. And
we all can't be Justin Jefferson. So
yeah, I mean, fuck Jets, dude. He makes everybody look bad, and it's annoying. And I need the fact that we got Diggs and you got Jets to not be a thing. And look, I'm not disparaging Stephon Diggs. I think he's a fucking dickhead. But like, he did some great things for our team. There was a beautiful moment in time that will always exist. It's not going to not be there. It happened, and it was lovely, and we didn't win a Super Bowl out of it. So at the end of the day, who really fucking cares? But it was still, as a fan, it was great to watch when those two were connected. The moment they became unconnected, it fell apart. And that was before he left the team. And, I saw this clip actually where Diggs was like, after their win, he's like, you all know how much that meant to me. Blah, blah. I'm just like, fuck you piece of shit.
Now you understand. Now you understand.
Like,
why I was the way I was so much for years.
Like, why do you? And like, you saw that side eye picture, right? Like, you seen it, like his side eye of Josh. Like, that was cold as ice. That is a man who hates Josh Allen, and I don't know why. I really don't. Like, Josh must have said some shit in text or something. I don't know, because there was never really any public like.
Well,
like Josh is a professional, right? He never talks about it.
Diggs internalizes everything, and he subtweets when he speaks. And Josh Allen made the one comment about how nice it is, like, to have, guys out there that, they're just like happy to be playing or whatever, and it's not about who gets the ball. And then immediately clarify like that wasn't meant as a shot at anyone or anything. But 100% Diggs caught wind of that and is still like pissed off about it. Because that's what he does. Yeah. He finds reasons to be moody and upset about things, and it's like
it makes him relevant.
Just right? Relax.
People are talking about him. Can I take a quick pause just to put my dogs in the crate because this is not sustainable? Thank you.
Football head.
A lot of Josh Allen talk. I want to ask because I was watching this part of the game live. I had been up for like 36 hours at that point, and I was fading fast, but I saw this live when he took the hit and he went down, got taken out of the game, very clearly slammed his head on the ground. Then they said it's a chest injury, and then I started hearing today, oh no, they said it was an ankle injury, and it's like that motherfucker looked and was playing like he was concussed. Do you feel the same way?
His hands posturized, but he was just facing the other direction. It was a very similar situation as the Tua. Right, when you could see his hands literally just go limp. And now there's like stories about they gave him fucking salts or some shit to wake him up. And look, I'm no conspiracy theorist. However, of course, I think this happens all the time. I don't think that it was an important enough game to risk our future, and I don't think McDermott would have done that. So if something did happen, I don't believe, and I have a lot to say about McDermott, but I think it's just not his way. So I think if anything did happen, it wasn't a sanctioned situation. I ultimately have no idea. I also think that Josh is a fucking bruiser. He's a fucking boxer. Like, he'll go out there and get his fucking ass kicked and smile about it. So like, I think they put maybe a little too much weight on him saying I'm fine. That could be as well. Who knows, dude? I honestly don't know. But if I'm watching this and I'm not a fan of the Bills, I'm thinking there's some shit going on behind the scenes. So I can't defend it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't.
Yeah,
look
I mean,
good.
I not even from an aspect of like defending them doing it or not. Like, I am always of the mind, as long as we know what the risks are, to some degree you got to protect guys from themselves, but I lean more towards as long as they know what they're in for, if they want to play, let them play. All right. But
I mean, like,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
like he
Just
played well
watching,
after that. But.
yeah, watching it live, I was like, oh, he's concussed. There is no way this man is not concussed right now. But
Yeah.
I mean, they kept the game close. Like it was 20-3, and then it ended 23-20, or was it 20-7? Either way, is like it felt like
It's
the
a little
defense
blur for
got
me
a
at this
handle of
point
it.
because I was so angry so early that I just got obliterated. Like I normally don't get that drunk during the actual game, but like I was just like so upset, and I was just angrily texting people. No, I mean, yeah, there was a sizable difference in the score, and came back to 2020. I mean, I guess now's as good a time as any to talk about that. The this is not the first time in Bill's history where a tied or very close game has come down to the worst clock management of all fucking time and all fucking human history. I don't even understand to this moment what I had watched. Like I just can't understand how, first of all, a man who is clearly concussed is being tasked with on his own, like 1 yard line or less, with less than a minute to go, throwing the fucking football 3 times. When they have 3 timeouts, your running game has been working pretty okay, right? Like that's a huge part of why we're still in the game. The play calling, I'm not even gonna say bad time management, the non-time management of throwing the fucking football 3 times when we haven't been able to fucking do it at all, and Josh has hit his fucking head, and they have 3 timeouts. If we go 3 and out here, we're kicking the fucking ball basically into the field goal range. And that's exactly what happened with enough time to make it work and make it work comfortably. It was I want to say strangest, but like I'm also feeling the anger rise in me. So I also want to go with a much stronger word, but like, the last time I was that angry about the end of a game was, and I was obviously more angry then, but it was the 13 seconds game where like you just gave Patrick Mahomes 13 fucking seconds. You just kicked it right to him and wasted no time. You didn't squib it. You didn't do anything. Anyway, that is one of many reasons why Sean McDermott is a fucking wet sock.
Well, we've debated this before, and I do have here on my notes to rehash the McDermott debate because I've always maintained, and I don't think it can be argued against, that he is clearly a good head coach, but it feels like he continuously now is bumping up against a glass ceiling that it's less and less likely that he's going to break through it as a coach, that he may have reached his limits and it may be time to move on. As much good as he's done for the Bills, but it feels like the Bills fan base is like ready to like get this guy the fuck out of here and get anybody else.
And it's not because, and like I feel like also the story may spin to like, oh, a couple bad games and they just want to oust their coach. Like that's not it. It is a longstanding history of things, and of course, like I personally am aware that he is a good coach. But you said it, like from a visual standpoint, that glass ceiling needs something sharp and thrusted aggressively to break it. He is too soft to break it. That is just the way that it is. He's not going to do the things. He's proven it throughout the years. Like he has done so much for the Bills. I'm not taking that away from him in any way, but the Bills got to a point. You have to get to the next point. He's not the guy to take us to that next point. It's been proven. It's not just the 13 seconds game. It's not just this last game. There's so many moments where a move had to be made, a decision had to be made either slightly differently or extremely differently in either a more aggressive way or just a smarter way or in a quicker way. I don't even know how to put that in to words necessarily, but just that we needed somebody with more grit, more sharp edges to push us through that moment. It's almost like, I'm not going to say panics. I don't think it's panic. I just think that he's a little bit of a coward, honestly. Like, I think that he's a little too worried about the wrong things. And he's a little too loyal as well. Like, that Ken Dorsey saga went on for way too fucking long. Like, there's a lot of moments throughout his history with the Bills where there was somebody in a position that shouldn't have been there anymore. And he's just like, oh, we're still like, I mean, we already talked about Nathan Peterman. Like, he defended the shit out of Nathan Peterman. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but that's his thing. He gets so loyal on someone, or even something, or even like a play calling strategy, whatever, where it's not working and he doesn't know when to stop because he's afraid. That's my interpretation. He's afraid of what might happen if they do. But like, every time we've made these big changes, good things have happened. So like, and he's been forced into so many of those big changes. And that's a problem. Like, that's not the guy to take us there.
Well, how much of the pass and the type of passes thrown? Because listen, it is an epidemic in this league. People throwing deep at times where it makes absolutely no fucking sense to throw deep. The amount of times this week that I watched a team, including my team, on 4th and short, go deep is insane. There's no reason. There is no reason to do it. It is 4th down. If you want to do that, do it on 3rd down. If you know you're going for it on 4th down, It's 4th and short. Get the yardage. Like it's insane.
Oh, especially when you have someone like Josh Allen who can use his legs. Like,
but how much of the specifics of that last sequence are McDermott, and how much is the offensive play calling? Like, where is his role in that specifically? Because it's bad time management, it's bad game management, which does fall on him. But the play call specifically,
well, for sure, and like the play calling, like Joe Brady, like I've been happy with him thus far in general, right? Like I mean, he's an improvement on Ken Dorsey at the very least, and I think that he's had moments where like the play calling is so outrageously, like, not even bad in the Ken Dorsey kind of way. Like it's almost like, because like Ken Dorsey was like basically coached Josh Allen out of Josh Allen, and Joe Brady kind of gave that back to him. Sorry, my computer just froze up. But like, it's getting to a point though where like, it's kind of like when Tyler Bass just like randomly misses a fucking field goal. That's like, it's like an important field goal, like or an important extra point. Like, this is important. It's a pivotal moment, and you just miss, and it's like shocking, and like so, and people are calling for his head as well, by the way. But like, to me, that's like Joe Brady sometimes, where it's just like you have so much more control over this in a lot of ways than like a kicker does. Like, there's a lot of different factors in both of those skill sets, but like, it's such a weird choice sometimes. So I think that has a big factor. However, though, like for me, it still comes back to Sean McDermott, because like, if you're not taking control of your coaching staff, if you're not taking control of the game as a head coach in that moment of the game, and you're just letting it happen, I mean, how are you not responsible? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's like, you have just as much ability to control what's happening here and control the time management, and maybe not necessarily, but like, if he makes if the first call, I mean, we are fans, right? We're watching this game. We know you run it, right? Like, you make them burn out their timeouts. It's a tied game, and if you kick it from this point, and they catch it and they have time, they're going to kick a field goal. So like, I think 9 out of 10 times, like, you just run the clock out. And if he sees that this first call is a throw and a pass, and passing hasn't necessarily been working, I mean, you have to be able to adapt to that, in my opinion, as the head coach. Of course, as the offensive coordinator, you do too. It's stupid as well, but like, he's the boss. He's just letting it happen, pass after pass after pass, until we punt it away and give up a field goal to lose the game. I just don't know how it works on any level from a coaching standpoint. Like, it's definitely not just on him, on McDermott, but coaching lost us that game way more than our actual play on the field did. The play on the field was not great either. I mean, like, this whole, again, coming back to everybody eats, next man up, like, if that truly is a mentality, then it comes into play calling that, like, it has to maneuver that way on all sides.
Now, do you think McDermott will be fired during the season, and what do you think it would take for him to get fired during the season?
I mean, if we lose the next 3 games in a row, I could see it happening, I guess. But like, if we continue down a negative path where we are giving up the division when we had it, like I stupidly texted you and was like, oh, at this point, got the division on lock, which, like, no matter what happens, which is clearly not true. I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't looked at the Jets' actual record, but I mean, I have, obviously, but like, not before we got on here. If they beat us on Monday, we're tied in the division, right? Or they're ahead of us, right?
You're tied in record, and they would go to the number one spot
because of the division win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary, right? Like, because, like, they just fired Saleh, which was good for us. Saleh being being on that team, though, was great for the Bills.
Yes, 100%.
So, like, that was bad news in Buffalo, New York, when that came out.
Yeah.
So, and, like, because now, effectively, Aaron Rodgers is that coach, right? Like, I refuse to believe that move wasn't entirely because of him, and that now he has so much more influence.
I definitely don't think it was entirely because of him. It's in part because of him, but I mean, I've been saying this all day. I've been arguing with people
of it. Obviously, Saleh sucking was a huge part of it.
but I'll say it. I've said it a million times today. I'll say it one more time. He is a bum. He is a bozo. He is an absolute buffoon as a head coach. Incredible defensive coordinator. Garbage head coach. Needed to be done. Take out the trash. But whether or not it's Saleh, what is your level of concern with the Jets? To me, having just watched my Vikings play them, they still got a lot to figure out. There's pieces in place. The defense, super talented. Aaron Rodgers. I saw enough plays, mainly after Harrison Smith got a sack and did the title belt celebration, and immediately I was like, oh, fuck. Why would you do this? He's just going to turn it on now. And he did to a certain extent, but I saw enough vintage Rodgers plays to know he might not be peak Rodgers, but he still has some tricks in his bag that he could pull out. Garrett Wilson, I'm a huge fan of. I don't know what happened. Breece Hall is a husk of who he was as a rookie. I don't know what's going on with him. But their offensive line is garbage. You now have a defensive coordinator who wasn't calling the plays defensively because Saleh was, who now has to call the plays. And, oh, by the way, you're also now the head coach. So I don't know how he's going to handle that. And Nathaniel Hackett is still your offensive coordinator, and he still is a complete waste of space at this point as a coach. So what is your level of concern about the Jets? Because the Dolphins are dead. The Patriots are dead. If Tua comes back and somehow they go on a run, I will eat something that I shouldn't be eating live on the show. I'll go live on YouTube because I have said before the season the Dolphins weren't going to do shit this year. So to me, it's just the Jets because they have the defense. They have Rodgers. What's your level of concern?
Well, I mean, first of all, Rodgers is Rodgers, and that is not my chief concern. But with the Saleh firing, it does concern me that he is effectively the head coach. In the same way it would concern me if suddenly Tom Brady was the head. Like, their knowledge of the game, the way that they can interpret what's happening as it's happening live in play, is unmatched in so many ways. Like, he's a brilliant fucking man with a football in his hands, despite his age, despite that he might not be peak in that way. Like, his mind is still sharp as fuck. So if he doesn't have any kind of influence, like there's a factor with Salah. Clearly there was butting heads, right? Clearly there was something that it was going in a direction that Rodgers didn't agree with. So my fear is that Salah was wrong to not go in Aaron Rodgers' direction. And when they go in Aaron Rodgers' direction, it's going to grease the squeaky wheel a little bit, right? Like, so the way we're playing, if we continue down the same path, and say tomorrow they announce Josh Allen does actually have a fucking concussion, he's not playing, that is an automatic loss. But, like, ultimately, because I'm sorry, but Mr. Trubisky is not going to fucking take us to victory with the team that we have. The only reason that was even a close game last week had a lot to do with the fact that there were plays that were made that only Josh could have made. I mean, they weren't huge, flashy moves, but they, like, me watching, I noticed, like, that was a Josh thing. So I have no faith in the offense right now without him. Even with him, if we continue to play the way we've been playing, the play calling doesn't change. If the coaching continues to be inconsistent, I will be generous. And Aaron Rodgers needed Salah gone, and that play works, then I think there's a very real chance that the Jets take it. I mean, it's a division rival, man. Like, the all bets are off, and they historically have no issue beating a even stronger Bills team. So, I mean,
but not even just this Monday night game, but for the course of the season. Like, to me, they are the only potential threat to the Bills winning this division.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to beat them at home regardless of what happens. It doesn't I truly believe that to the depths of my soul. Like, I have no. It's like when the Dolphins come to town. Doesn't matter, like, sorry, you're losing. Obviously it has happened that we've been beat at home, but it's just the road game, the division. I right now in the season, I'm worried. I think that we are going to do an about turn, but I think it's going to be a slow about turn, and I think that this is the real test on just how slow. I don't know. I'm nervous, a little excited, and that excitement is fueled entirely by a delusional hope. So I don't know.
All right, well, let me end with this. What are some reasons to be optimistic if you're a Bills fan? What do you see in this particular team this year that you say, you know what? This is why we're still going to make the playoffs. This is why we're still going to win the division. This is why we still have a chance to go on a run despite the holes and the issues and this and that.
When we play complementary football, we look like the best team in the league. Like, when we play efficiently and Josh isn't forced to play hero ball, and, like, what I will just side note will say, like, the thing that I've noticed this year about Josh Allen is that, like, he has every year has grown as a leader. He's grown as a football player. He's grown as an athlete and a quarterback and a leader to the team. But, like, this year feels the most like Josh Allen is in control of this team and the game to the extent that he can be, right? So, like, his ability to make mature decisions has just gotten better and better and better, and this season is the most mature I've seen him play overall. I mean, there are moments, obviously, and like you can't cage a fucking wild beast. Josh Allen, make no mistake, is a wild fucking beast. He's an animal. But like the maturity that I've seen this season, especially in those first 3 games, obviously, mostly like this, like week 2 and week 3, primarily, because he played a little bit hero ball in game 1 to win the game. But like when he doesn't have to, the efficiency mixed with the play calling offensively and truly finding the open man, like not worrying about forcing anything, it has been a thing to behold. And on the other side of the ball, when that's happening and we're not coming, trying to come from behind or make up for mistakes, and the defense is equally stopping the pass, like I'm okay with the run game. Like I truly don't think the run game is going to get that much better. And we could chip away. But like if we can get back to how we were stopping the pass the first 3 games, and we're doing that, and we're keeping the lead, we're keeping the points on the minimum on defensively, and Josh is able to play that efficient game without a star fucking receiver, like that's why we'd win the Super Bowl. If we can do that on a consistent level, that is like that level of complementary football is what wins championships, in my opinion. But it's just a matter of can we get back to that, and can we do that repetitively?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably end up picking them against the Jets, to be honest. But I don't know. With the first week of an interim head coach, it feels like you never know for sure. But
right, like I feel like historically teams play really fucking well after their coach is fired, right? Like,
but I also feel like that's not true. I feel like that's like what we all think, but then when they show the stat, it's like, oh no, it's actually like they all suck and they do terribly. So
right, maybe they just happen to win, and we have this idea. I don't know, maybe not, but I do feel like that is a thing. Like people think like that's the consensus. I don't know. Again, like in this case, it does worry me that like clearly, like it's been obvious that Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh were not on the same page. So at the very least, like they were butting heads. Saleh was an antagonistic factor to how Aaron Rodgers wanted to play the game. If Aaron Rodgers was right, then that can be a big fucking problem. If he was wrong, and Saleh was actually doing the right thing, I don't believe that's the case. But like, if it is, then we're fine. But the mystery factor of that, of like, was he holding the team back in the way that he was managing that team? I don't know enough about the team this year. Like I really don't. So I don't know what. Like I know what I feel like McDermott's doing to hold us back. I don't know what he was specifically doing to hold back the Jets. So. If it was a thing that's going to, obviously you can't fix that shit overnight, but if it was going to start that healing process, and that healing process starts with beating the Bills at home, then that's no good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this, like you lose to Baltimore in Baltimore, and Baltimore was, not. They were still clawing their way back a little bit when you lost to them, but now after the last few weeks, Baltimore looks like, a top 2 or 3 team in football, and they were in Baltimore. And then you lose to the Texans, who were 4-1, very popular pick preseason for a lot of people to be a legitimate contender. It was also in Houston. And then you look at the schedule coming up. You got at the Jets, so we'll see how that goes. It's on the road, but the Jets are in some level of disarray right now. Then you're at home against the Tennessee Titans, who absolutely fucking stink. Then this is a tough one. You got to go to Seattle. Granted, Seattle just lost in Seattle to Daniel Jones without Malik Neighbors and Devin Singletary. So who knows? But historically, it's a tough place to play. But then you got the Dolphins at home in Buffalo. You already talked about that. You got Indianapolis, which if it's Joe Flacco, who knows? in Indianapolis, then the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo before your bye week. So I think there's some good winnable games in there. I think you should be above 500 by the time you get to the bye.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It is a tough schedule. I don't know. There's so many.
The beauty here is though you end with at home against the Patriots, at home against the Jets, and then at the Patriots. So
yeah, I mean
that's 3 wins right there.
I still get nervous about like saying, you know, with any division rival game. I mean,
yeah, sure, but the division is dog shit time, right now.
Like, I think all 3 of those division games at home, like, it's going to be we're going to have to do a lot wrong. It's just a different. But when you're playing a division rival at home, it's like a whole different feeling in the air, and we have historically done very well in that regard. So I do feel really good about that. Definitely, obviously I'm not worried about going to Foxborough either. But who knows? Maybe by that point, like, everything will have fallen apart. But honestly, like, the only, it's after the last 2 games, it's very difficult for me to even think about this in a logical way or in a rational way. I kind of want to curl up in a ball and cry thinking about some of these games we have to play. But like the Chiefs, again, going back to history, regular season Chiefs games are more often in our favor than not. And so if we can figure out how to play football the way we were playing football and design the game in the way that it was being executed in the first, at least say week 2 and week 3, which like week 3 was nearly a perfect game. I mean, it was an incredible thing to see. And because it like there wasn't big flashy things, right? It wasn't like this giant shootout. It wasn't like Josh Allen putting the world on his shoulders and doing things that will be shown on the internet for the next 10 years. It was truly just efficient fucking football and good play calling and good execution. And so we can do that against the Chiefs. Like I will say this too. I've watched pretty much every Chiefs game this season.
I think we all have because they're all on fucking prime time every week.
Our fucking games are all on prime time too. I'm sick of it. But like I'm so sick of prime time games. Give me 1:00 games every week at this point. God damn. But yeah, so I'm not impressed with the Chiefs at all. I mean, there's a part of that has to be biased because I'm a Bills fan, but like, and they've caused me so much pain. But they just have not looked like a 5-0 team. Like I've watched the Vikings play as well, not every single game, but like they look like a 5-0 team to me. You know, like it's a lot of that same shit, like that, like efficiency and just consistent execution on both sides.
Just straight bodying people from the jump.
But like the Chiefs have not been doing that. Like there's more than half the games, in my opinion, they should have lost. I'm not blaming the refs. I'm not. But it's a fucking factor, dude. Like there are like the Falcons game, for example, that was a loss. They lost the game. That was a pass interference, right? Like the same. I defended the Chiefs the week before, by the way. I said I think that was a pass interference. I believe that was a pass interference. You know, it sucks that it won the Chiefs the game, but like that, it was a pass interference. It was a little bit of a soft one, but it technically was one. Same thing for the Falcons game, but it's not called, right? Like there's just shit like that all the time. And like that first game against the Ravens, when you've got the Ravens being called like what was like 5 times in a row for fucking illegal formation or some shit. And then the Chiefs, like you can literally just look, like you can watch it back. They did the exact same thing. We're never called for it. It's not about the refs necessarily. Obviously the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, all these like, you know, Andy Reid, like it's not like they're being given games, but there's this weird thing in the air. And maybe it's like when you get a new car and you never saw that car before and now you just see it all the time. maybe that's why we're noticing all these flag issues. But to me, it's a mixture of being a solid football team, the refereeing, and other factors that are circumstantial, but they don't look like this dominant force that they're being sort of lauded as and have been in the past, in my opinion.
All right, well, I want to steer this back to the Bills to close it out. I'm looking through the schedule. I see 11 wins. I think the Bills are going to win 11 games this year. Does that sound right to you, high to you, low to you, unfeasible? Just right?
It doesn't seem unfeasible. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it was 9 or 10. I don't want that to be the case, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. I do firmly believe that even if we only win 9 games, firmly believe we are still winning the division. I'm not this isn't the same thing as I said the other day when I texted you. It's not like this cocky, one-off comment. I do in my bones believe that a lot is going to need to go wrong. The thing standing in our way is, of course, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, but I have obviously more faith in the Bills than I do the Jets, but I have faith that we're going to get it done and we're going to beat them. And even if it comes down to a tight race, we're gonna have the division.
All right. Well,
I think 11. I don't think we go more than 11 though.
There's tough games on the schedule, but the Bills are gonna win the division. It's lock it in. Whatever the odds are, if you could still get them, get it. It's gonna happen. Trust me. I know these things.
Can we real quick before we round out? What's your thought on Davante Adams and where he's landing, or if he's landing anywhere? If he's even gonna, because I've read things from all sides. He was in Buffalo, by the way. He was caught at the airport. There's photos of him in Buffalo.
I mean, if Buffalo's in on it, I think that's a good spot for him. I think it's a good move for them. It'll take pressure off of Keon Coleman where he can sort of develop at whatever pace he needs to develop as opposed to the pace the team needs to develop. Obviously, you need a number one receiver. If you're a number one receiver in the league, I don't know why you wouldn't want to play with Josh Allen. Obviously, Davante loves Aaron Rodgers and he loves Derek Carr. I think he would be insane to allow himself to be traded to the Saints because I've been saying from the get-go, just give it time. They will fuck this up, and sure enough, they have. The Jets seems like the most obvious because of the Rodgers connection, because of it's been a rumor for so long, and now that Salah's gone, who in that building has the ability, the clout, the power, whatever, to spar with Rodgers? If Rodgers is yo, so go get Davante,
that is my. You know me, I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but that is my number one conspiracy on this whole Salah thing. Is I truly believe that, or I guess let me reword that. I will be unsurprised in the highest possible capacity when tomorrow or the next day it's announced that this is happening, because I think maybe that was it. Maybe the not it, but the icing on the cake, the last straw, needle, whatever on the camel thing.
Well, here's the thing: is
that that maybe he was the thing that was trying to stop that from happening.
Maybe, but if you're Bob Saleh, I don't know why the hell you wouldn't want Davante Adams on your team. But again, Rodgers is 41. Davante Adams is in his 30s. those two together now is not the same as the Rodgers Devontae that terrorized the NFC North for years. So it's a concern, but I it's still not a guarantee that they're
I'm honestly
good.
not deeply concerned about that. I mean, yeah, it's another weapon, and they have a chemistry, and of course that's going to be a factor regardless. I'm not super concerned that it's going to take over the league or anything, but my issue with it is the one bias that I just don't want the Jets to have another weapon. I don't want them to have any more advantages. But also, for me, it's the Bills just need something to get us through the season. Right? I don't anticipate if we got Devontae, I don't anticipate him being here next year, personally. I think that would be one of those short-lived situations. I don't think it would be a Diggs situation where it's the future kind of is looking bright. I think it's we need something this season. We need somebody to catch these balls that Josh is capable of throwing. Right now, we don't have that. And I don't even necessarily think he would be utilized as much with us in the sense of just based on how we've been calling plays. But when he is used, he's going to be the guy that makes the big play. And I think that big play is what we are missing, just won a fucking game. You know what I'm saying? We've tried to do it, and we can't do it. Do you see? I don't know if you saw it last game, but Josh tried to turn Mac Hollins into a Stephon Diggs. Mac Hollins ain't that, right? It looked foolish.
I do love me some Mac Hollins, but
no, I like him, but that's not gonna work. He just doesn't do it the same way. Just the way he was running and watching the ball, he looked afraid that he was in this situation.
Well, Devontae Adams may end up being the determining factor of the division if he goes to one of those teams. It should be a massive swing, but I got to wrap this up. I have things that must be taken care of tonight, professional duties, but thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking about the Bills. Hopefully, I don't know if this is going to put any Bills fans at ease, but I still maintain, even though the Jets are your biggest threat, as Aaron Rodgers would say, relax. Everything will be fine. Even if it's not fine this year, you still got Josh Allen for many years to come. You will continue to build out the team, and I think things will go well. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting. And until next time.
Yes, sir. Go Bills.
Let the big dogs eat!